hard to pick a favorite scene.
I think one of my favorites, and I think especially since it's not a spoiler, would be the chariot races. I think just being able to have like a set that's been built so massive, but to be able to have is a lot of practical elements in the action between like the horses and then also the rigs that they built for us when we were on the chariots on the mechanical side of things. Was just such an incredible experience, and to be able to have an action sequence that spanned like weeks of filming for me was kind of crazy. It was very much a first. Loved every moment of that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's hard. You can't really pick like a least favorite. You know what I mean? There's only days that are like harder than others. So I think some of the days that were hardest were like the ones in the ironclad. Because it was pouring rain and there were fans blowing it in our faces and they had these massive water jets and they were shooting it at us and it wasn't one of those things that like you can just get done. Like, we had to do it like shoot an entire week and then they had to take the entire ironclad apart, tilt it 8 degrees, and then we had to shoot the whole second half of it. So it was like kind of a long time to shoot in weather conditions like that, I guess, you
Yeah.
know?
I think like Daniel said, there's I mean, or Walker kind of Walker and Daniel. There's not you can't really pick a favorite, but also at the same time, I love the chariots. Um, More for me, it's not like what favorite scene, but more like what was the favorite set. I feel like, because there's so many different scenes filmed in like the same sets. Obviously, I when you watch it, you always think that Camp Half Blood will be your favorite to film just because of all the graphics. But if you're talking about actually when you're filming right then and there and there is no editing, it has to be the chariots because again, like just to connect, like it's the most practical and it's the little kind of like game connection, when you're playing a game and if you go too far out of bounds and stuff, you just get stuck. That's how it felt with like the volume stage back then, but now with the chariots and stuff, I can go as far as I want to and just get to explore everything. And I feel like that was the best because on and off of filming, I was able to just connect with it and get more into the character. Um, I will. I think the difference, first of all, not only because we have more stunts and just more practice this season. We still want to be book accurate and follow what stunts might have been in the books, but we also want to add a little bit of our own thing to it. The difference definitely is it's still the amount of monsters, but at the same time, it's more fights between the demigods. I feel like this season there was a lot where it was demigods fighting against monsters, but um, in the second season, the intensity is not just intense by itself, but it's also because it's fighting against your own kind, and I think that's one of the big differences of season one to season two because it's like, oh, these kids they're going on a quest to survive. But now, since we find out that Luke has left and there's a bunch of other kids that have changed as well, it's now like, fight against your own family.
Yeah, they really started to like lean into the like the demigods that betrayed camp and that whole part of the story that it wasn't really talked about too much in the second book, you know?
Yeah.
Filming. The scene that we thought we could do and then got there and was like, oh no.
I think kind of every scene went like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
it's one of the things like when you're up there for that month of
Mhm.
prep that we get, which is such a godsend, and I'm so glad
It's
that
amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that we have that is a blessing.
yeah. But like you get there and you start all this prep and you do all this deep dive, like researching your character, and you run these lines like millions of times in millions of
You
different
feel
ways.
ready. You're like, okay,
You feel
yes.
ready, and it's weird to think about like when you go home, you're doing all that prep just so you can get there and not think.
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's funny, like the second you start to think as an actor
That's
is
when
like
it
when
takes you
you
out.
yeah,
That's when
Yeah.
you're acting. You're not
Yeah.
living it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to scenes from the book, for me personally, I was really excited to do any of the wedding dress stuff. I think I could handle that easy. I'd been watching a ton of like Runaway Bride.
Yeah.
Oh,
The way his little step in the heel was phenomenal. How he walked, it was perfect.
looked right at home.
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
I've never seen you feel like more like yourself.
It's beautiful.
Um, I think also, I mean, just for me, like all the,
fights with Percy I was looking forward to. I mean, the action stuff. It was funny story. We had like definitely a few weeks of like very intense fighting action sequences, and then ultimately, and I was a few nicks here and there. Me and Walker made some contact sometimes on accident,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, the one time
Got you.
the one time I actually injured myself in season 2 was when I was putting on a jacket in the scene. Because okay, they wanted me to do it like that, like over,
Yeah,
which
like,
I never
like,
Put it on
Suave.
too cool for his own good, and he
And
hurt
broke his
himself.
arm.
Well, I just did it like
He didn't break his arm.
20 times, and like I remember on one of the takes, I just boom like that, and I
Well,
went
'cause-
back and I was like, "Ooh, that didn't feel right."
What, don't you? Well, I guess that's not a related injury. I was like, don't you also have that one thing for when you were doing the barbell? Did that cause it?
My wrist.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
not related
That
to
was
your
years
shoulder
ago.
at all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Play.
I think I would. I just answered this earlier today. I think I would play Luke. That seems like a really fun character
Yeah,
to be able to mess around with.
for sure. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking that during this interview, actually, Luke is like an actor's dream to play because you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
stagnant in one thing for too long. Like you're constantly challenging yourself. It's like the best in terms with your like cardiovascular health as an actor.
No, it's. I feel like I've played like 4 different characters
Yeah.
already on this show. Like season 1, and then season 2 Luke, and then flashback Luke, and then even season 3 Luke. I'm not gonna say too
Yeah.
much, but it's still kind of different.
It's all different.
It's all different.
Like you're always getting a little different flavor of the
Yeah,
week.
exactly. But I think for me, I said this at Comic Con, Grover, because I already have the walk down. I already got the walk down a little bit.
It has, in some ways. In some ways, it's just sort of deepened my understanding of who they are. I will say that now, when I'm writing books set in Percy Jackson's world, I have the voices of the actors in my head in a good way, in a way that makes the characters seem more real, more vital to me than perhaps they even were before. And it's difficult to say, what came first, the voice in my head of Percy Jackson, or my understanding of his voice now that I've gotten to spend so much time watching Walker Scobell as Percy Jackson and doing such a great job. But it's been fascinating to me to have that experience and to have one form of storytelling cross-pollinate with the other form. And I think both are stronger for it.
Yes. No, we there's I don't know if we think it's pressure. It's more just you're in a place where we're so happy that people have responded the way they have to season 1, that the fans felt like they were getting the adaptation that they deserved and wanted and hoped for. Um, and so you feel that you want to just keep honoring that you want to find new ways to tell this story while still honoring the books. And I think I hope that they feel that in this season. There's a lot of everybody who works on this show are massive fans of the books. So we're constantly talking about how to make sure that the DNA is throughout the entire adaptation. And even when we change things, even when we alter the story, that it still feels like it's coming from the essence of why we all fell in love with this story. I mean, it has to be when the kids enter the Sea of Monsters. I mean, being able, figuring out Scylla and Charybdis, um, and how to achieve that, was probably one of the greatest collaborations I think any of us have ever seen in our careers, between performance, stunts, special effects, VFX, set builds. The scope and scale of that sequence was, everybody signed on to make it as big and epic and exciting as possible. And I feel like when I look back on that, I get chills when I watched it in the mix, the final sound mix, and got to see it all finished. We felt like, all right, what we had set out to do was delivered here for the audience.
I have a surprising answer because it surprised me is when we were doing the final mix and when everything was coming together on episode 5, CC's. That episode really has everything in it. And it turned out to be my favorite, and I didn't know that when we were writing and shooting it. Just when how it all came together with the sirens and everything. That's a really satisfying part of the adventure.